You're listening to Speaking of Health and Wellness, the podcast, where we dive into holistic nutrition, biomedical treatments, functional medicine, low toxicant living, and developmental strategies with a special focus on children with complex picky eating, developmental delays, and neurodevelopmental disorders. I'm your host, Shandy Laskey, integrative speech-language pathologist, pediatric feeding specialist, functional nutritional therapy practitioner, and epidemic answers certified health coach. Together, we are changing the conversation around how we view, discuss, prevent, and treat these childhood epidemics. I am so honored to have your time and attention today. Thank you for joining me and for all of your support. Please note that this podcast is for educational purposes only and should never be misconstrued as medical advice or a replacement for individualized care from your trusted providers. Now, without any further ado, let's get started. Hello and welcome back to Speaking of Health and Wellness, the podcast. You're listening to Season 2, Episode 2, Instilling Confidence in Your Picky Eater. Before we dive in, I want to let you know that today is day 2 of our first launch week of my new online course, Naturally Navigating Picky Eating. This is a self-paced course designed for parents and caregivers of children with complex picky eating with and without developmental or chronic health conditions. During this first launch week, I am offering 3 live group Q&A calls as a special launch bonus. If you sign up and enroll for Naturally Navigating Picky Eating by Saturday, May 18th at 8:00 p.m. Central Time, you will automatically be given access to those 3 live group Q&As with me. I'll be taking a survey of the parents who enroll in the course to see what days and times are best for everybody after everybody gets enrolled after this launch week. If you're listening to this after the fact and the doors of the launch have closed, you can still enroll in Naturally Navigating Picky Eating as a DIY course, as a self-paced course, only without that live element. I am thinking, this is not a guarantee, but my goal right now, or my thought process right now, is that I will be opening enrollment for the live elements in a cohort fashion. So later this year, I anticipate that I will open it up again. And if you're already in the course at that time, you will be given an option to then join that cohort of the live element. So maybe that looks like 3 live calls then, or maybe it looks different. I'm not sure yet. But in order to get the 3 live group Q&As as the launch bonus, you have to enroll this week. Today is May 14th. When you're listening to this, I had to double check that. You probably heard my hesitation, but I just want to make sure. It's Tuesday, May 14th, the day that you're listening to this. So you've got just a handful of days until Saturday, May 18th at 8:00. The doors to that close. Now, the course itself comes with supplemental resources, different assets like a food and mood journal, ebook guides, journal prompts, just different things for your own reflection and self-guidance. And you will still have access to all of that if you don't sign up during the launch week, right? The only thing that you're missing out on after launch week are those 3 live bonus calls that I'm offering exclusively to those who enroll during this launch promotion. So if that sounds like a good fit for you, be sure to check it out. You can go to speakingofhealthandwellness.com/picky-eating-course. Again, that's speakingofhealthandwellness.com/picky-eating-course. And I will link that in the show notes below so that you can check that out directly. But let's get into it. Today, we are talking about instilling confidence in your picky eater. So One of the biggest things that I see involved in picky eating is this anxiety, this looming anxiety for kiddos around food and meal times, and for parents. Like parents also are experiencing that looming anxiety. Um, and I think that when we when we instill confidence, we're able to help support that kiddo, bringing down that anxiety. But before we can instill confidence in our children, we have to be able to have confidence in them ourselves, right? And so also looking inward and saying, do I have the confidence in myself to help navigate this for them and help meet them where they are in a gentle way that is supportive? And I understand sometimes it is super frustrating when you have, maybe you've had a crazy day, maybe you haven't, but maybe you've made this beautifully elaborate meal that you assumed your kid was going to eat because maybe they've eaten it before, and you put it down on the table and they refuse. And I know that that can be so frustrating. But if we're able to have the confidence in ourselves and in our children, then we can instill the confidence in them that they can learn to like new foods. And that's the key, right? If you didn't get a chance to listen to episode 1 that was shared yesterday, definitely go check that one out because it matches and pairs really well with this. But you have to think about the level of pressure that we sometimes put on ourselves, on kids, on food and meal times, and um, really saying, if I can just back up a little bit, I can meet them where they are. And if you take that pressure off of yourself of like the consumption, then automatically, like you can, how do I want to phrase this? You can choose to make meal times a positive experience and make mini steps towards the goal of expanding your child's diet in a way that doesn't put pressure on them or make them feel not confident. So, the best ways, so, okay, what does that look like, practically speaking? We have to look for opportunities to decrease the anxiety and increase the familiarity. That's the key. Increasing the familiarity will help to increase the confidence. So, incorporating food exposures and learning about foods outside of meal times can be incredibly helpful. This might look like tending to a garden, helping tend to a garden, even if you have just if you don't have a yard, but maybe you have a windowsill or a patio where you can uh, grow a couple of herbs or something like that. Exploring at the grocery store or playing grocery store or kitchen or pretending to have a restaurant at home. You can have your kiddo use real foods or play foods during that, depending on what foods you have available, and what play foods are available. But you can incorporate some real foods in there where they can have some hands-on sensory learning experiences with the food without actually being asked to eat it. Because that increases the familiarity, which decreases the anxiety and increases the confidence. So you're providing experiences that instill confidence. And you're also um, speaking confidence into them with the way that you speak to them about foods, about meal times, about them as a child who has picky eating, right? And that's something that I want to make sure that we dive into. And I'll get into that of like why we don't want to refer to your child as a picky eater in front of them. I say it a lot in my content. And in a way, it's like kind of cringy because it's cringy to me. I mean, because I don't want to just call a kid a picky eater. I don't want to be like, oh, you're a picky eater. Oh, what is your picky eater like? Things like that. Like it just feels off to me to like label a kid like that. But that is in terms of how parents are internet searching and things like that. I have to be mindful of that and making sure we're getting the point. But the point is, right? I could go on about that, but the point is, don't call your picky eater or your child with picky eating. Don't call them a picky eater or say that they have picky eating in front of them. And think about that. We want to be mindful about our language because what you're saying in front of them about them can become their inner voice and can shape their identity. And if your child's identity is that they are a picky eater, then they can get stuck in that and see it as, well, this is just a part of who I am, and it's hard for me to try new foods or foods that make me anxious because I'm a picky eater. My mom said so, my dad said so. Instead, say things like, he or she is learning to like new foods. Child's name is working on being more adventurous with foods, if you're talking about them. Or maybe if you're talking to them directly, you'd say something like, well, you're still learning about this new food. You're still learning about, insert new food here. Maybe you'll like it next time. Maybe you would like it prepared another way. And then you're always leaving it open to the possibility that someday, some way, they might like it. You're not closing that door. And then maybe ask them even, do you have any ideas of how we could make this better? Of ways that you might like it? They might surprise you. And maybe, I don't know, maybe it's something that they can get involved with the next time and be more hands-on as you're implementing this change, even if it's something kind of like, it could even be something that you wouldn't typically do, but it still gets them hands-on with that food and gets them to try it. And maybe they like it or maybe they don't, but they've had that experience. So that's one experience that they can then build confidence on. Increase the familiarity, increase the confidence, decrease the anxiety. Other ways that you can work with foods or give your child that exposure to foods with zero pressure to eat it outside of meal times would be arts and crafts with foods. So for example, like smashing up some berries and using it as a paint, blackberries or blueberries, strawberries, or something like that. You can use potatoes or celery or squashes or other foods as stamps. And you could just use the food that they're going to eat and make a little shape on the plate, like a smiley face or a little heart. Like that's not fancy. You're just making a little shape with them with the food on their plate that they have. Maybe they eat it, maybe they don't. Or maybe that's not it. Like, okay, we were talking about outside of mealtime. So if you're doing that, you could do that during a mealtime, or you could do that outside of mealtime, or you could have them help make you a snack, right? Of like, oh, I'm so hungry for this. I'm gonna have whatever food it is. Will you help me? Will you make a smiley? Will you make me a heart shaped out of my blueberries? Oh, thank you. That's so beautiful. And then that way, oh, like say that your kid doesn't want blueberries. Okay, fine. You're not asking them to eat it. You're asking them to make you a heart. You're not asking them to eat it. You're not putting pressure on them. But at that time, if they do it, they're then getting that sensory exposure and interaction and increased familiarity with blueberries, increasing the confidence. Books are another great way to learn about food outside of mealtimes. Although I will say, if you're going to look at books about food and mealtimes, preview that book before you read it with your child, because there are too many children's books out there that are like demonizing foods and not helping our cause here. Like foods where they're making the broccoli evil or, something silly like that. Some books that I absolutely adore are the Brock and Kara books by Dave Wilson. You can find those on Amazon. They're great. There's one, Brock and Kara's Picnic Party, and then there's another one specific to gut health and digestion. And the way it's written and animated is so well done. The animations are the animations, not animations, the illustrations. That's what I meant. The illustrations are so beautiful. Like the artist did such a great job, and it was written in a way that applies to kiddos of different ages and levels. And so, anyways, those are great books to check out if your kiddo's into books or you're interested in some books that start to foster healthy habits or thoughts or an understanding of how food impacts our body, I guess, is more of that. You can also do, you know, I don't I don't want you to think of this as like doing it to a level that's food wasteful, because I understand we want to be mindful about that, but think of this as, again, positive exposures and experiences that we're building on for kids, but doing science experiments with foods. So seeing what color something turns if you mix it with this or that, or what texture it turns into if you do this, or what have you. You can do like little mini science experiments where you phrase it as a science experiment, and that kind of gets your kiddo into it. And those are all ways where you can increase familiarity, increase the confidence, instill the confidence, and you can speak to them in a way where you're helping them understand that these experiences weren't scary. And over time, those are the experiences that build the foundation for the moment where you put the new food on the plate and serve it to your child. Because if they've had opportunities to increase their familiarity and decrease the anxiety about that food or about food in general, sometimes this is specific and sometimes this is general, but then they're going to be more likely to be more open to maybe putting that on their fork, maybe licking it, maybe taking a tiny bite with the option to spit it out, maybe taking a bite and even swallowing it. There are a lot of different ways that you can explore food and introduce different foods to your child with zero pressure to eat it. But if your kiddo is a complex picky eater, again, you have to sort of step back, observe, and meet your child where they are, and realize that it may actually take a little bit more thought and planning to infuse these exposures in these moments throughout your routine. Versus a kiddo who doesn't have complex picky eating, that parent wouldn't have to be thinking about those things so much. But for parents of kiddos with complex picky eaters, those are the moments that build the foundation for meal times, is outside of that. So stating the obvious here, if you believe in your child, they will be more likely to believe in themselves. So really being mindful of your confidence in yourself to help them with this and instilling confidence in them. I encourage you to have confidence in yourself and instill the confidence in them. If you need more support with this, check out my free guide, The Do's and Don'ts for Parents of Complex Picky Eaters. I'll list this in the show notes, but you can also find it on speakingofhealthandwellness.com/freebies. Also, again, this week, the doors are open for enrollment for my new online course, Naturally Navigating Picky Eating. If this is something that you've been struggling with your child for a while, if this is something that's really impacting your family's quality of life, if you are so over the mealtime battles, then join us inside of Naturally Navigating Picky Eating. And if you want the live element, you want to be able to get your questions answered with me on a live group Q&A, then sign up this week before the launch closes on Saturday, May 18th at 8:00 p.m. Central Standard Time. If you're listening to this after the fact, you can still join the course, Naturally Navigating Picky Eating, as I said. And there is an exclusive Facebook community group involved, so you can write questions to clarify course curriculum. But again, if you want that live element, come into the course, enroll this week. I would love to see you in there. I would love to support you along this journey for your child. So yeah, I'm cheering you on, regardless if I see you in there or not. Just know that if you're listening to this and you made it this far, I am cheering you on. You can do this. Please take advantage of the free resources that I have. If the course isn't a right fit for you for financial reasons at this time, then definitely check out the free resources I have. And again, if the course seems like a right fit, get in now so you can get the live component. All right. That's enough chatter. I will talk to you guys next time. Be sure to stay tuned for tomorrow's episode. And yeah, I hope to see you there. Bye. Thanks again for listening to Speaking of Health and Wellness, the podcast. I'm so grateful you've taken the time. For any of the references mentioned in the show, head over to speakingofhealthandwellness.com. If this episode resonated with you or inspired you, it would mean so much to me if you took a moment to subscribe, write a review, share it on social media, or with someone in your life who could really benefit from this information. Your support helps this podcast and the overall message and mission of Speaking of Health and Wellness reach more people. If you share on Instagram, tag me so I can personally thank you for listening. If you're on Facebook, come join our free community group of like-minded parents and professionals. The direct link is in the podcast description. I hope that you have a wonderful rest of your day. Thanks again so much, and take care.